Well, hey guys, welcome to the channel and the stream, and welcome to another series, brand new series, working on this guy right there. That happens to be our Mig-17F by a company called Ammo. 148 scale airplane. We'll run the intro. We'll start on it, okay? Okay guys, so we are starting a new build today, and yeah, I have already opened the box and kind of taken a look at this, and so we'll go through it. I do not have my other camera set up right now, so when I start painting this thing, I can't switch the camera. I am working on getting a better camera, or at least a camera that's going to be working consistently for me. So let's go through the sprues. I'll change the camera here. We'll go look at the sprues and see what comes in this kit, okay? Alright, so like I said, I've already taken these out of the bags, so we'll go through these. Now, this plane is going to be painted in the traditional silvery color that these planes a lot of times were in. Now, I do know that they were painted in camo and different things like that, but my client wants this one painted in the silver, so that means absolutely everything is going to be primered black. So after this particular video, you guys aren't going to be able to see all the detail that great. So I'm going to go through this and show you. Obviously, we've got our wings here. We've got the tops and the bottoms. Not very big wings on these planes. Very small plane back then. I'm not sure when these things were built. I think it was the 40s or 50s or something like that. I think this is the front part. You know, the nose is like an open hole on these things, but then you have this part in there. There's our cockpit, or lack thereof. Tiny, tiny little thing. We've got some wheels. This looks like an engine. Maybe more, yeah, more engine halves here. Front wheels. This looks maybe the cockpit base, maybe. Our instrument panel and our dashboard. That looks like the pilot seat. Looks like a couple of pedals. Yeah. Landing gear. And landing gear pieces. Yeah, so there's our one sprue. Let's just flip it over here and see what we've got. Looks like we've got internal detail on the wings. That's kind of neat. And that's about it, really. There's the insides of our engines. Alright. Okay, that's sprue number one. Let's grab the other one. Sprue 2 has two halves of our fuselage. Our tail is right and is molded in. That's kind of nice. A couple of fuel tanks, or drop tanks, whatever you prefer to call them. Not sure what this. Oh, this looks like our fin for our tail. Detail underneath for our panel that looks like it's going to go underneath here, underneath there. Where obviously they got their machine gun there. And there's really not much on this particular sprue. There's really not much to this kit. There's only two sprues, and that's it. There's some nice detail in there. You guys see that? That's kind of neat. The detail in those door panels. But that's about it. That's it for our two sprues. That does come with a sheet. Comes with a nice little booklet here. We've got our box art, deco locations. We've got some different decals depending on which versions you're going to build. We're going with this one, but we're doing the Russian one. And yep, there's different colors. Like I said, yeah, these planes could get in different colors, but we are going with Russian, just like this. This is the version we're doing right here. Okay, Soviet Air Force. Russia, 1950s. That's what we're going for on this guy. Okay, so those are nice. There was a sheet of photo etch. Here we go. Got a few photo etch parts that come with this kit. That's a nice little thing. Apparently there is a premium version of this that you can get, and it comes with a couple of extra things. We got our canopy in the clear bag here. Let's just open this up. I haven't opened it yet, so let's take a look. I like these types of bags. I like the fact I don't have to deal with staples. So here's our canopy. Looks like that. Looks pretty nice. Of course, they've got this great big thing going down the center of it here, so we don't even have to worry about any kind of a mold line that we got to get rid of, because that's supposed to be there. So it looks nice. I'm going to put this back in the bag just because I like to keep it, you know, relatively safe until the day I actually need it. So I'll just keep it in there. Keep that off to the side. We have our decals that come in the kit. Your basic generic ones that are going to go on any version you make, and then of course you've got the different countries, whatever you're going to choose, and your number designations, just like that. Okay. Nice, fairly detailed, nice color photographs of all the different versions. USSR Air Force, the GTR, Polish, Angolan, how do you pronounce that? Cuban, North Vietnamese, People's Liberation Army, Korean People's Air Force, that's got to be North Korea, Egyptian Air Force, Syrian Air Force. Yeah, you get all these different versions. So it's nice that you get these ones, like Ammo makes these different ones, so that's kind of nice. So they go through and they get your colors that they give you, that they want you to paint these in. All up to you. And there we go. So in typical airplane fashion, we're going to start with the ejector seat. But like I said, I've got to primer everything. I've got to primer everything black. So I'm going to get going on that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to cut forward to me being done with the primer so we can actually start putting this thing together. Okay. So when next we meet, everything will be black. All right. Okay. Well, we're back and everything's black, and I started working on this and realized I'm not recording. Yeah, fun freaking tastic stuff. So everything is black. Everything is black. Everything's black now. And unfortunately, that's just the way it goes, right? We can't, you're not going to be able to see all the detail now because everything's black. I did take both sides of the fuselage off the sprues before painting them or primering them, and realized just how small this little guy is. He's just a little thing. It fits in your hand, basically. Yeah, tiny little thing. It's a 1/48 scale, but tiny planes back in the 50s, guys. That's the way it was. They didn't carry nearly the armaments. Their engines were not nearly as big and powerful. It's just the way they are. I mean, look at the nozzle on that thing. A tiny little nozzle on that for the engine, right? Anyway, that's that. So, looking at the instructions, I'm kind of starting on the pilot seat. Of course, everything is black. Let me change the camera again, and you can kind of go over. I started putting the bottom of the bucket together with its 3 pieces there. Okay, a little bit tricky to get those lined up, but I got them lined up, and so that's that. Okay, that's those pieces, and I'm starting on the headrest. We have the photo etch pieces for the seat belts. I've got those taken off, but I got to paint those. I actually got to paint everything. That's just the way it goes. But I'm trying to get the headrest assembled here, and so let me just change my glasses again here. So the headrest, you got to put all 4 parts together, and there's only one little guide spot. One side, number 53 of the headrest, has a little slot in it right there where my long fingernail's sticking in, and that's got to go in to this tab, and that's your only cue as to exactly how it's supposed to align. It's like that. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on that. and just let that fold together on its own. I'll actually do that. No, don't do that. Is that okay to do? If I put my tweezers on there, is that going to hold it? I don't like that. It feels like it's going to fly off somewhere. Anyway. Okay, so that's in. That's on. So, as I discovered by trying to put number 52 on first, I really should let that dry for a minute before really farting around with the other parts. So, let me find my cockpit blue color. Let me see here. This is Mr. Color 392. Okay, I think they call it air superiority blue. No, this is interior blue. Okay, they have another one that's called air superiority. It's basically the color of most Russian cockpits. And from what I read online, or I can't remember if I just saw it in a video or I read it, the reason why Russia likes to use this color in their cockpits is it helps keep the pilots calm or something like that. Apparently the light blue color has a calming effect. So I'm just going to paint a couple of things here before we move on. Because the seat belts are going to drape down over this, I want to have this painted first. Okay. Now our seat back is supposed to be flat black, so I want to keep that. So I just want to kind of paint this a little bit first. This is absolutely the most horrible brush for trying to do detail. Bristles are just facing every direction except straight. Okay. Now let's grab it with a clip so I can do this side. So when I go to glue the seat belts on, I want it already painted. Okay. Backside's not really going to matter too much. But of course you want to have it covered. There we go. Okay. That's that. The other thing is our actual bucket. I think I'm actually going to spray that because this paint is fairly thick. And it definitely needs to have some thinner put in it. I want to clean my brush before we move on. And our seat belts. I need to paint the seat belts. Now, one thing you didn't get to see because I thought I was recording and it wasn't. So our photo etch, I did a little prep work by using VMS, their metal prep. Just kind of painted it on, and that helps paint stick to it. Well, speaking of paint, I need to thin this down a little bit. This is too thick. There we go. Okay, for the seat belts, I need to paint those. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to grab some masking tape and just go boing and boing like this, and then pick these up, put them right side up on the tape, like that. Okay, and now I can paint them. I'm going to paint them with olive green, like Tamiya. Of course, I love Tamiya paint. Now if I can, I want to try and preserve some of the metallic-y gold looking of the buckles. Of course, if I have any chance of doing that, I really should use a different brush. I think that's good enough. Okay. I think that piece on our headrest is probably dry enough. I can put the other side on. Double check, am I recording? Yes, I am. That's good. Nothing worse than looking up after half an hour and realizing I haven't been recording for the last 30 minutes. Okay, let's put the other half of our headrest on there. And a little bit of glue. Okay. There we go. Sure it's lined up. There we go. Okay. I want to put a little bit of extra glue on it. Around the front face, just to make sure. Okay. No, we don't need to glue the tweezers to it. Okay. And now on the top is where this piece goes. Okay, this piece here, this is number 50. 50 goes on the top. Now I want to see in the instructions here, they don't even really show it here on the top. In fact, they show the top, they show these little loops on the top here that are not even on it at all. And then of course they're gone in this picture. But this picture does show that little loop that goes out the front on number 50. And kind of gives me an idea how far out it's supposed to go. But this has to go onto this part here. So maybe that's going to be last. I need to get my CA glue to glue our seat belts down with. So let's get a little CA glue, because after all, photo etch does not glue down with regular hobby glue. You need to use CA. My CA tip has seen much better days. Let's look at our seat belts. Is the paint dry? Oh, it's sticky, yeah, because of the tape. This is dry. Mr. Hobby Paint dries almost as fast as Tamiya. So let's get these off of here. Feels like paint's 90% dry. Maybe still just a bit tacky. So the top of the seat belt is just going to go on to just above our black pad. It's going to go, they're just going to drop in right up in here. So let's get our first one. Let's get some CA glue. Put a little dab up there. And grab our first belt. Right up in there, and I'm going to take, what am I going to take? I'm going to take this thing, my little stir, and pressing down will automatically create the bend I need. There we go. First belt's in. Just a second dab of glue there. Put this in place. Right about there. That, pin that down. There we go. Okay, our two seat belts are in. Are they perfect? Heck no. But that's okay. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking to make sure they stay where they belong. I'm going to put a little extra glue top there, just to help convince them to stay there forever and ever and ever. As usual, I'm going to soak up the rest of my CA glue, the cotton swab, because I don't like leaving a puddle in there, and then wait for the weird little smoky action to happen with that. I don't know what it is with my Q-tips. Causes a reaction with the CA glue before it heats up and instantly cures. Okay, so those are in. So our headrest can go on. Our headrest has to go on there. So let's see which direction our headrest goes. I think it's supposed to go like, nope, it doesn't go that way. I know it goes with the thick part goes to the top. Okay. Goes like that. Yep, just like that. Okay. Okay, it's just so you guys could see how it goes on. That's how the headrest goes on. So you just kind of line it up at the back there. Okay, and line that up. And there you've got your headrest. Okay. And then you got the top piece has to go on. Our top top piece sits right in the very top in that little channel there. And you pull everything off because you don't want to wait for glue to cure properly. So if you're in a hurry like me, that's what's going to happen to you. So going by the picture on the next step is where I've decided I'm going to sit the top piece by lining it up on the very back of it there. Okay? And just set it down on top, and that's where we have it. And there's our headrest. Just like that. Okay, so I just lined it up so it's flush with the back here. Just like that. Just like that. Okay. So that's going to dry. Otherwise I'm going to have a bad day. So that's basically that. We could put B9 into the bottom because our bottom has already been glued together for a little while. B9 goes to go in there. Goes to go in there? That's right. I can English pretty good. B9, this guy here. B9's got this extra little bit in the middle of it. When I saw these on the sprue before, I thought these were the control pedals. But obviously not. These are part of the seat. So let's get rid of my ugly nubs. Clean this up. Okay. Now this guy is going to slide in. Which way does this face? The bar goes towards the back. But the little angle's kind of facing up. And I've got this in the way. And it's a little confusing. How are we supposed to go in? They show it all connected here. It looks like it just kind of sits at the very front here. Like this. There's sort of kind of a little notch for it. It doesn't really lock in, it just kind of sits there. It just kind of sits in that spot. At the front of the seat. Kind of sits in there like that. Okay, I'm going to put a little glue along the back of this bar. and see if he's happy. Doesn't touch the seat there at all. So we're going to grab our thicker glue. Just sits in that little channel there, and that's it. Kind of sits in the little notch in here and here on each side. So if you, and what it does is it exposes if you have these pieces aligned or not, which I did not. But I kind of got away with it. So it's not perfectly straight. And it's not straight because, what is this on my screen? Device is too hot. That is a new one. New one for me. Okay. So there's that. Okay. So he's on the front of the seat there. I'm not sure what those are. Some kind of pedals. You got it all put together. That's what it looks like. Okay, so with the exception of the seat back, this is done. But I got to paint this, and I don't want to paint it with a brush. I want to spray it. So maybe that is where I should leave it for today. Eh? Maybe that's where I should leave it for today. Let this dry, because I keep on playing around with it, trying to assemble things. It just gets messy and messy and messy, and it's not a good thing at all. So that's where I'm going to leave it for today, guys. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for the support and the new subscribers. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Speaking of which, if you haven't subscribed, there is that button down there. I'd really appreciate it. Yeah. Also, you hit the like button too. Leave a comment if you feel like it. I love reading your guys' comments. You guys know I do try to engage you guys through the comments, because I know you guys don't like watching me live. That's okay. Don't watch me live. Fine. Just don't. Anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna let this dry. Maybe tomorrow or something like that, I'll break out the air compressor and I'll spray that blue and get that done, and we can move on with the assembly. I want to thank you guys again for coming out, and we'll see you all in the next one.